Good evening, all of you. So in today's class, we are going to start the new chapter called the wave optics. So let me begin with the Huygens wave theory. Then what will happen? We'll go for the interference phenomena. Then YDS theory of YDSC. So these things is what I'm planning to cover in today's class. Okay, let's take you to the screen. Okay, now already have pre-written so that we can, let me summarize. So first we'll start with let me bring the pointer. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let me start like this. So the chapter name is the wave optics. Fine. So and the Huygens wave theory is what we are going to discuss. So in the year 1678, the Dutch scientist, so like a Huygens, so we can call it Sir Huygens. What happened? He has proposed the wave nature, and in the 1675, the Newton proposed the rectilinear propagation of light. Maybe for another 200 years, nobody could not understand this wave nature. Only in the Young's what happened to demonstrate the wave nature, he took help of this Huygens wave theory. Then what happened? This has become so popular. Till then, what you can say like it was like a neglected part. The people could not understand what actually the Huygens wave theory is because the total the ray optics already what we have studied. So there what happened, I think we discussed the most of the concepts with the help of the rectilinear propagation of light. That one. So let's begin one. So first I'll start with the wavefront concept. So what do you mean by a wavefront? It's a plane in which all particles will have a same phase. The wavefront can be spherical. So due to a point source, the wavefront will be a spherical one. So these are the wavefronts. Then for if the source is far away, then the wavefront will be a plane wavefront. So it can be like this. The wavefront will be spherical, can be cylindrical. So any of the things. So different waveforms. So once again, I'll put it. So the plane wavefront will be like this. The spherical wavefront will be like this. The cylindrical wavefronts will be like this. These are the like a wavefronts. What happen usually we encounter in our discussion. So once again, I'll put it. It's a plane in which all particles will have a same phase. I think already the idea of phase you have encountered in the SHM and also in the waves and so on. What do you mean by phase? What do you mean by phase? It will give the instantaneous position of a particle. What is the phase? It will give the instantaneous position of a particle. So at a given instant, if all particles are having same phase, that particular plane, what happened? I can call it as a wavefront. And the wavefront can be of shape spherical, cylindrical, or plane wavefront. Okay, fine. After this, now we'll proceed further to the coherent sources. What do you mean by coherent sources? Two sources of, let me introduce to the idea of the coherent sources. Two sources of same frequency with phase difference remaining constant with the time. They're said to be coherent. I'm asking you to look at this part of the content. Coherent sources. Two sources of same frequency with phase difference remaining constant with the time. The sources are said to be coherent. Example, I took the sine wave. What is the phase of this? Zero. I took the cosine wave. What is the phase difference between them? Will be 90 degrees. And that phase difference will remain constant at any time. So with this, what we can see. So they're said to be coherent. Phase difference can be zero. Altogether, the phase difference should remain constant with the time. They're said to be coherent. What about the incoherent sources? Two sources of same frequency with phase difference varying with the time, or two sources of different frequencies, they are said to be incoherent. So if you look at the source one, it is having a frequency f1. What about the source two? The source two is having frequency, which is having higher frequency, the waves emitted by the source two. This is f2, this is f1. So now what is the phase difference between them? The frequencies are different and the phase difference will vary continuously with the time. So the two sources of different frequency must be incoherent. What about this? So they are incoherent. You can see the phase difference is varying with the time. So definitely what you can say that these two are also incoherent. So here we are going to come across the word coherent and incoherent. Once again, I put it. Two sources of same frequency with phase difference remaining constant with time are said to be coherent. Okay, next comes like how to produce the coherent sources. How to produce the coherent sources. So I do have two light sources. Two light sources. Okay, let's assume that made up of same, manufactured by same company, same wattage, and they're identical. Can they be coherent? The answer is no. The two identical light sources can never be coherent. Anything, because what all the light energy that is emitted, it is due to excitation of atoms, and different atoms will have the different phase. So because of that, the two light sources can never be coherent. That's the basic condition. Okay, okay, we had a now discussion. Okay, let's proceed to the Huygens wave theory. It's a very beautiful concept and very difficult for students to really imagine. So I'll give some suitable examples. So it'll be very easy for you. Now this S is the primary source. Like it can be, what do you mean by primary source? Candle flame, a bulb, tungsten filament bulb, or nowadays we have modern LED bulbs. Okay, they'll emit light. Then how do that light wave will propagate? How do that light energy will propagate is what we are trying to understand here. How do that light energy in fact will propagate here? So here the Huygens what happened? He proposed like, so let's come to the wavefront. So this are you able to notice this like a 0, 1, I wrote one circle, 0. So there's a one wavefront of 0 phase. Next, a dotted circle is the red color. So there's a wavefront of phase angle pi radian. Next, a wavefront of phase angle 2 pi, wavefront of phase angle 3 pi, 4 pi, and the wavefront of phase angle 5 pi, and there's a wavefront of phase angle. So it will be 6 pi, and this will be 7 pi. So this particular source open, it will start emitting the waves. And we do assume here the idea of the wavefront. Sir, why don't you bring 0 to pi by 2, pi by 2 wavefront? Yes, you can bring pi by 2, 3 pi by 2. Let's assume few some specific things. So here, like there's a wave, the phase angle 0. As it propagates, it will acquire phase. Means you know that one. As the wave propagates a distance lambda, it will acquire a phase of 2 pi radian. So like that, what happened? We can define the wavelength also here. So what can be the wavelength lambda? Now distance between 0 and 2 pi wavefront will become lambda. Distance between 0 and pi will become lambda by 2. So we can take the wavefront concept here. No. So what Huygens is telling, every point on the wavefront acts as the source of secondary wavelets that spread out in the forward direction with the same speed as the wave. The new wavefront is found by constructing the surface tangent to the secondary wavelets. What is this? This is the point source. So what he mean to select it? Let me assume some 2 points on a wavefront of phase angle 4 pi. In turn, what happened? These 2 points, what happened? Every point on this wavefront will act like a secondary source. S is the primary source. S1, S2 open will become primary source. In turn, they also start emitting the wavefronts. They also start emitting wavefront. Next question comes, how do the wave will propagate? Direction to perpendicular, the direction of wave propagation will be perpendicular to wavefront. So what makes the light to propagate? What is telling is like, again, a point on a wavefront will behave like a secondary source and it will start emitting its secondary wavelets. source of secondary wavelets. So what are secondary? The green color circles, what you can see there, the secondary wavefronts or wavelets. Then similarly S2. Okay, it will also start emitting. Then sir, how come it will move forward? Here the superposition of the fresh incoming wave and the waves emitted by the S1 superposition occurs and the energy will get added up and it will move forward. What about here? The fresh incoming wave and this one will undergo superposition and the energy, what happen here? Destructive interference will occur and the energy will cancel. So in this will happen, there'll be a net flow of energy in the radial outward direction. The light wave propagates in radial outward direction. Means now, so let me assume S3, S4. What are S3, S4? Again, they will act like a secondary source because there are the points on the wavefront. So they will start producing their own wavefronts. So just imagine like every point on a wavefront or the pen will behave like a secondary source. And in turn, they'll start producing their own waves. So in this way, what happen? The wave will propagate is what the Huygens proposed here. Means, sir, what about S5? S5 is also a point. So like this, how many points I should assume? N number of points and the N number of sources are formed and they will generate their own waves and the waves, what happen, will start propagating. Okay, this was the Huygens proposed here. Okay, let's take the next one. Like a better diagram is what I'm trying to bring. If S is the primary source, this S is the primary source, so which will start emitting the wavelength. Okay, got the idea now. So A1, B1 is one wavelength. A2, B2 is the second wavelength. A3, B3, also like A1, B1 is one wavelength. AB is one wavelength. A2, B2 is one wavelength. Now, a point on a wavefront will be like a secondary source. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4 points I'm choosing. In turn, what happens? They will be like a secondary source. They will start giving out their own waves. They'll start giving out their own wavelets. Able to see this one? They'll start giving out their own wavelets. Then, so in this way, what will happen? Now I'll draw a tangent. I'll draw a tangent here. So tangent connecting that particular the wavelets. So again, what happens? That will become like a new wavelength. Or you can see this one like they're 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So there's a plane wavefront. Every point on a wavefront will be like a secondary source. In turn, they'll start giving out the wavelets. Okay, now if I draw a tangent to that secondary wavelets, so I'll get the new wavefront. And that will be a plane wavefront here. So in this way, every point on a wavefront will be like a secondary source. In turn, they'll start generating their own the secondary waves, and the secondary wavelets are formed. If you draw a tangent to the secondary wavelets, that will become a new wavefront formed by the secondary sources. So means now, sir, like what is the thing like, sir, like how come wave will reach here? So definitely what I can say different. So can you assume like this? And again, you draw a tangent. So this will become a new wavefront. In this way, what happen? Every point on a wavefront will be like a secondary source. So now what is the phase of all these points, 1, 2, 3? Suppose it is having a phase 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi. What is the phase of all points, like all these 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4 on this wavefront AB will be 4 pi. Okay, are they coherent? No, I'm asking 1, 2, are they coherent? Yes, they are coherent. 1, 2, 3, 4. All these 4 sources at this instant, they are coherent because what is the frequency of the waves generated by that F? What is the phase difference between them? Will be 0. So 2 points on a given wavefront, will they be coherent? Yes, they'll be like a coherent sources. Okay, let's go back to again the Huygens wave theory. I think you can see things a little bit clearly here. Let me adjust it. Yeah. Now look at this one. There is a primary source which will emit the waves. Then the wavefronts are formed. Now S1, S2, are they coherent? What is the phase difference? What is the phase of this wavefront? 4 pi. What is the phase difference between S1 and S2? Will be 0. So at any instant of time, S1, S2 will become coherent sources. Then again, after this, will S2 and S3 will be coherent? Yes, it will be. S2 and S3 will be coherent sources. S3, S4, they'll be coherent sources. Now, S2 and S5, what is the phase of the S5? 6 pi. What is the phase of S2? 4 pi. What is the phase difference between 2 pi? And that phase difference at any instant of time will remain constant. So again, S2, S1 will be coherent. So that's why I wrote here, S1, S2. Are they coherent? Yes, in fact, they are coherent. So S1, S2 are coherent, S3, S4 coherent, S3 and S5 are coherent here. So not only 2 points on a given wavefront are coherent, will they, they become coherent sources. 2 points on different wavefronts will also become a coherent source. This is what I'm going to use in the coming YDSC setup. Very good numericals are related to this one. So let me summarize what do you mean by Huygens wave theory. So what Huygens wave theory says, like every point on a wavefront acts as a, I have that particular statement. Every point on the wavefront acts as a source of secondary wavelets that spread out in the forward direction with the same speed as the wave. The new wavefront is found by constructing surface tangent to the secondary wavelets. Means now I found a new wavefront. So what I should draw a tangent to the secondary wavelets here. So that will become a new wavefront. Got the idea now? So in a brief, in a sweetly, what I can say, every point on a wavefront of a primary source will behave like a secondary source. And in turn, they'll start emitting the wavelets. And if you draw a tangent to the secondary wavelets, that will become a new wavefront. This is what the particular Huygens principle is what is suggesting. Okay, now, when he proposed this, nobody could not understand because the rectilinear propagation was very simple and it was very mathematical. It was much easier. Later on in the YDAC setup after Young's double slit experiment, what happened there, the people started accepting it. Till then, what happened? The rectilinear propagation of light is what the ruled, the ray, the optics. Only after YDAC experimental demonstration, what happened? The people started accepting it. But both proposed the ideas at the same period. 14, like a 15, 1675, the Newton's, it's like a rectilinear propagation of light, and 1678 is the Huygens wave theory. But this was given recognition after YDAC set up in the 1840s. I think almost we can say 150 years. What happened after this? It was recognized. Okay, it happens in science because things are so complicated. So maybe the people found a little bit very difficult to assume this secondary wavelets, how the wave propagates everything. Okay, now how to, like how Young's was able to demonstrate this. Okay, let's do one thing. We'll go for the YDSC setup. Huh? YDSC setup. So let me bring the pen. Okay, we'll discuss the basic idea of the interference. What is the interference? So it's like an interference of light is what we'll be discussing. So what is the interference phenomena? Two light waves of same frequency, when they undergo superposition of amplitude may or may not equal, then at that particular point, the amplitude will be a function of path difference. So already I think you have come across this in the interference of sound waves. So when two light waves of same frequency laser not working properly. Yeah, when two light waves of same frequency and amplitude may or may not be equal. It's not a condition, may or may not be equal. When two light waves of same frequency and amplitude may or may not equal, undergo superposition. Undergo superposition and interference, or select a the resultant intensity varies as a function of phase difference between the rays. Okay, this is about the basic interference. So let me do one thing. I'll take a source, light source S1, this S2. So this will emit this source. These are coherent sources. Strictly what happened? When two light waves of same frequency and amplitude. So what are S1, S2? S1 and S2 are strict condition coherent sources. Okay, they'll emit light, and when they come here, what will happen? They'll undergo superposition. Due to superposition, so let this be y2, let this be y1. So at point P, let they undergo superposition. Now, why do they will have the phase difference? Because they cover different path. So this will cover a path length x1 and x2. So at this point, y equal to y1 plus y2. Suppose if the y1 is having a phase angle of, select a sine. Why this phase is brought, additional phase is brought? Look at this one. So why do this phase? This phase is due to path difference between the two waves. So if you compare the ray 1, the ray 1 will cover a path of x1. What about ray 2? Will cover a path of x2. So is there any path difference between them? Yes, due to that path difference, they'll have phase difference. So let me assume that the wave 1 as having a phase angle of phi at point P than the wave 2. We know from the vector addition. So what is the resultant amplitude is given by AR square equal to A1 square plus A2 square 2A1 A2 cos phi. What is cos phi? The phase angle between them. Then we know the intensity is directly proportional to square of amplitude. With this, we'll get the resultant intensity is given by IR is equal to I1 plus I2 plus 2 root I1 I2 cos phi. Since here A1 equal to A2, no, we can write it to be equal to I naught. The later part, where all if intensity is equal, no, so you can write I1 equal to I2 equal to I naught. Okay, the intensity at that particular point, now it depends upon what? The path difference of the waves arriving there. Like this, we'll discuss the idea of interference. So for maximum intensity, for intensity to be maximum, for IR to be maximum, cos phi should be equal to plus 1. Then what should be the phi? Phi should be equal to n pi. And we know what is phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda. So what about delta x? Equal to n lambda. This is the condition for constructive interference. Now, similarly, for destructive interference, what is IR? IR should be minimum. For resultant intensity to be minimum, cos phi should be equal to -1. Then what should be the phase angle of this? Should be equal to 2n plus 1 pi. I'll write it, where n will start with n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. Here n will be then path difference 2 pi by lambda delta x equal to 2n plus 1 into pi. So what is the path difference? Should be equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. If the path difference of the rays are having at point P is 2n plus 1 lambda by 2, destructive interference. If path difference of the rays are having at point P, it is equal to, say, like a n lambda, then it will be constructive interference. It all depends upon the phase difference of the waves arriving there. This was the interference what you know from the waves and sound chapter is what I just made you to recollect. Okay, fine. Interference of light when two light waves of same frequency amplitude may or may not be equal undergo superposition. The resultant intensity varies as a function of phase difference between the rays. The phase difference depends upon the path. Like this, we can discuss about the interference phenomena. Okay, now how Young's was able to demonstrate that Huygens wave theory? I think that was our primary question. Let me bring here because I'll be using word constructive, destructive. At constructive interference, what will happen to intensity will become maximum, and destructive interference, the intensity will become minimum. If I1 equal to I2 at constructive interference, how much intensity will be? 4I0. If I1 equal to I2 equal to I0 at destructive interference, so what should be the minimum intensity at destructive interference will be 0. Provided if I1 equal to I2, if I1 is not equal to I2, then the equation will take some other form. So what is that? I max will be so what about I minimum? If I1 equal to I0, then the minimum intensity will become equal to 0, that one at destructive interference. Okay, to demonstrate this particular wave nature, so Young's what will happen, he has took help of an experimental setup. It is called like an experimental setup, Young's double slit experiment here. So what he did is like, so I'll come to the diagram. So let me start with this one. Okay, I think everyone is able to. Yeah, fine. This one. So what Young's he did is like, let me choose some color. Some green color, let me choose it. Okay, the pointer, all of you, if you are able to see the pointer, then let me proceed. Yeah. Okay, now we'll proceed like this. So you took the monochromatic source of light, which will emit a light of single wavelength. That's called like a monochromatic source of light. He took cardboard. He made a small pinhole. Pinhole. What do you mean by pinhole? I think in your home you get a needles. You get a needle. So with that, what you just put a one small hole. That is called as a pinhole. That one. Then he took another cardboard. He made a symmetric holes. Again, he made two holes which are symmetric with respect to slit, and this is called like an axis here. Then he took a screen. So when you open this, all three holes, so what you notice is like an interference pattern, bright and dark bands. So why these bright and dark regions are there? Due to superposition of the waves. So here, if it were rectilinear propagation of light, what you would have expected? You would have just expected here the light will propagate in a straight line and we'll get only illumination here in this region. We'll get only the light will, so I'll put once again, the light will propagate and we'll just get an illumination here. Only one spot is what I should notice. No, but Young's what happened, what he noticed is like, instead of getting a spot here, he got here the bright, alternate bright and dark regions. The reason for that, the light coming from here was behaving like a wave. Here what happened, it started spreading because every point on a source. So we know that. So can I draw a wavefront like this? Because this is primary source. So this every point on a wavefront will behave like a source. So because of that, so if this is a wavefront, then every point will behave like a source of light. So it started emitting light like this. It's a secondary source, of course. No, this light, when it reached here, again this S1 watt pen will become like a one more secondary source. So you can draw a wavefront. Then what happened? It started emitting light. I think I'm able to show things a little bit very clearly. Once again, I'll put it. You can see that one. There's a primary source. There's a primary source. So there's a wavefront. I'll draw it. Then every point on a wavefront will be like a source as it will emit light. Then the light emitted by it will reach here. Then here again S1, S2 are on wavefront. So in turn, they'll also be like a source. They'll start emitting light. And the light coming from this and the light coming from this, they're having a path difference. Because of path difference, they'll undergo superposition, and because of the intensity will be a function of path difference and will get alternate bright and dark rings. If it were rectilinear propagation of light, what would I have noted? The light will propagate and will get only one spot here. But the Young's what happened didn't notice one spot. He noticed alternate bright and dark bands. So what does it mean? He demonstrated the wave nature of light. So what Ydse proposed in the year 1678, in the 1840s or in the 1820s, what happened? The Young's what happened? Were able to demonstrate using this experimental setup. So this shows that this experimental setup shows that the light is having wave nature. So the light will be like a wave nature. Getting this one is a very simple. Even in an ohm we can do it. It's not that something we need research lab. I'll put once again. Every point on a source, wavefront will be like a source. It will start emitting light. This light, when it reaches the slits, S1, S2, again there you can draw a wavefront. So in turn, every point on a wavefront will behave like a source, and the light emitted by S1, S2 when they reach on the screen due to path difference. Due to path, there's a path difference between the rays, no? So and where the path difference n lambda will get maxima, means here you can see that path difference is 0, maxima. Getting the idea? This is where the path difference, you can see they're having different path. There's a path, the path difference equal to lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2, minima will come. So like that, alternate bright and dark regions are noticed on the screen. So this shows that this experimental shows that the light in fact will behave like the wave here, not like a particle, or better say, will not have a rectilinear propagation of light. So here what it is, same thing, let me put it here now. This is primary source of light. Then a wavefront, a point on a wavefront will behave like a source, so it will start giving out light energy. Every point on a wavefront should behave like a secondary source, so it will start giving out energy. Now this wave emitted by it, the source S, when it reaches the slit S, when it reaches the slit S, S1 and S2, again what happens, they will in turn, they'll behave like a source. So what is the phase angle? 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi, 8 pi, 9 pi, 10 pi, 11 pi, 12 pi. Now where S1, S2 are there? On a wavefront of phase angle 12 pi. So what is the phase difference between S1 and S2? will be 0, and at any instant of time the phase difference will be 0. So S1, S2, are they coherent? Yes, the answer is they are coherent. No, in turn, S1, S2 will be like a coherent sources. So now this will emit light like this. In turn, this will also emit. So now, are there any overlap of these circles, circular regions? Yes. So where the overlap occurs, there will get a alternate bright and dark regions. So the blue colored dots open, they represent the maxima. What about the yellow colored dots? They represent minima. Means there the path difference equal to n lambda will get a maxima, where the path difference equal to obeys the equation 2n minus lambda by 2, like lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2, 5 lambda by 2. There will be destructive interference. Means what about intensity at this point will become, definitely what happens will be more than what due to individual source. This is what happens in the interference phenomena here. So what are the basic ideas? S1, S2 are coherent sources. The light emitted by S1, S2, when they reach different parts of skin, undergo superposition. Due to path difference, we see this alternate bright and dark regions. This was the pinhole, very famous experimental setup where the Youngs used to demonstrate the wave nature of light. So YDAC setup, Young's double slit experiment. So what it will support? This entire setup is called as YDAC. So what it will support? The wave nature of light here. Means now you have to ask one more primary question. Okay, sir, there's a source, there's a wavefront. So every point on a wavefront will behave like a source and it will start emitting the secondary wavelets. What makes the light to bend? Why can't it go straight? So what's happening here? Some sort of bending is occurring, no? So the light, when it arrives here, it will start bending. Why it will bend? Because of the phenomena called as diffraction. When the light encounters a sharp edges, it will start bending. The same thing here, like again, now the light, when it enters here, so it will start bending. This is called like a diffraction. This bent light again, when it reaches here, so again it will bend. And on a screen, what happened? You can see that the ray emitted by S1, S2, they'll reach here. So is there any path difference between these two rays? Yes. So like this, what happened? We'll get a maximus and minimus on the screen. Hope everyone is able to understand the YDAC setup. So basically YDAC, what happened? It supposed the wave nature of the light, the interference phenomenon. So here what happened? We'll get the maxima sign, the minima here. Okay, let's do one thing. We'll directly go to the YDAC setup. So what further in what happened, instead of the pinhole, he made a rectangular slit. So how to get the rectangular slit? You take some sharp knife or the blade, that one. With that weapon, you can just cut it like this. The cardboard, you cut it. The narrow gap is called as a rectangular slit. So after this weapon, I'll take another cardboard. I'll make. Oh. After that, what I'll do is I'll make two more slits. Identical slits, let me make it, S1 and S2. And let there be at a equidistance from the axis. This is called like an axis. So let me. Let me give name for this, the axis, and okay, fine. So let me give the name, basic name, axis here. I will form two slits. So you take a cardboard, just cut it. So these are called like rectangular slits. So when I eliminate the slit S by a monochromatic source, when I eliminate the slit by monochromatic source, on the screen, what we get is like a alternate bright and dark fringes. And alternate bright and dark fringes is what we notice here. So these are alternate bright and dark fringes. You know, so what are these? These are the dark fringes, and this is bright fringes. Alternate bright and dark fringes are noticed on the screen. Now we have to give explanation why the shape of fringes like this, why alternate bright and dark are noticed, and this particular thing is called as a central maxima. So how do that particular conditions always arise? Okay, first, what is the intensity at this point will be 0. What is the intensity at this point will be maximum, which is equal to 4 I naught. What is the intensity here will be 0. Okay, what I do is like there's a slit. I'll illuminate the slit with a monochromatic light of wavelength lambda. Let me take the pointer. No. These are the two slits are there. So usually what is the distance? This will be, okay, let me start with one. So what is I naught? Let I naught be the intensity on the screen due to the slit S1. Got this one. And similarly, what is like a I naught? Let I naught be the intensity on the screen, on the screen. Let I naught be the intensity on the screen due to slit S2. So usually what happens, the distance from the slit to the screen will be of order meter, 1 meter, 2 meter. Let I naught be the intensity at all points on the screen individually due to each slit. This is the assumption we have made it. Okay, I agree with this. Now I'll put a condition. The D will be very much less than capital D. So D will be of order millimeter. What about capital D? Will be of order meter, like a 2 meter. Later on, I'll write the data time being. Okay, okay, we have here, no? Okay, what is the D? Will be of orders like a millimeter, 2 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 10 millimeter. What about the capital D? The distance between the slit and the screen will be of order few meters, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meter. So practically, if you check it, the diagram will appear like this. The slits, what happen, will be very close to the axis, like this. So the D will be very much less than capital D. Then the angle made by the line joining S1P with the horizontal, let it be theta. Similarly, the angle made by the line joining the S2P with horizontal, let this also be theta. So I'll once again put it like this line joining S1P will make an angle theta with horizontal. Similarly, the line joining S2P will make an angle theta with horizontal. So like this, we define the parameter theta. So any reason why sir, why two lines will make same angle? Because the D very much less than D. Look at once again, I'm highlighting. This D will be very much less than capital D because of this condition. Try to look at this part. Almost in all YDC setup, the conditions will be of this one. Okay, no. So is it justified? So this line joining S1P and the line joining S2P will make an angle theta with horizontal. both will make same angle theta. Then if this is theta, then what can be this angle? 90 minus theta. Let me drop a perpendicular from S1M to the line S2P. I'll drop a perpendicular S1M. Then this is 90 minus theta. This is 90. This will be theta. Okay, got it now? So this will be theta. And then, so what we do is like, after getting this much, we'll get into the mathematical part. So let me look at the triangle S1M S2. S1M S2 in the triangle. What is sine theta? Delta x by S1 S2. That S1 S2 is what equal to D? So what is the distance between the slits? The distance between the slits will become equal to small d. So sine theta from this triangle, sine theta should be equal to delta x by d. Opposite by hypotenuse. Delta x equal to further d sine theta. As d very much less than capital D, theta will be very small. So sine theta will become tan theta. Okay, further tan theta from the bigger triangle. This triangle I'm asking you. Look at this triangle. From this triangle, what is tan theta? You can write it as tan theta as y by capital D. So write it tan theta as y by capital D. Okay, now for constructive interference, what is the basic necessity condition? Let me go back once again. For constructive interference, we know path difference should be equal to n lambda. The path difference should be equal to n lambda. The path difference should be equal to n lambda. And for destructive interference, what should be the path difference? Should be equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. Then for constructive interference, what should be the phase difference of the rays arriving at point P? Should be equal to 2n pi. So pi is equal to what? 2 pi by lambda into delta x. Delta x is the path difference. Why the path difference? So compared to ray 1, the ray 2 will cover this much of additional path. If this path difference is equal to n lambda, point P will be maxima or intensity will be maxima. If the path difference of the rays arriving at point P is equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2, then this will be minima. Like that, the Young's was able to demonstrate like why that maxima minimas are there on the screen, because we were more interested on that pattern. That's what I'm bringing this condition. Okay, got this? So now what further Young's what is telling is like what is suggesting is like, okay, now come back here now, is telling let I1, I2 be the intensity of the light reaching the point P due to each slit. Since okay, D will be very much less than capital D, I1 equal to I2 equal to I naught. Okay, if I substitute all that, so what is the equation? I'll get it. IP is equal to, I need pen. Let me write it here. Let me bring the pen. Okay, no. What is IP is equal to? IP is equal to I naught plus I naught 2 root. Oh, the resultant intensity IP will be I naught plus I naught 2 root I naught cos phi. So this everything will become IP is equal to 2 I naught one plus cos phi, or this will become 4 I naught cos square pi by 2. This is the expression for the resultant intensity at point P on a screen. Then if this particular point is a constructive interference occurs, so what is the phase angle? Will be 2n pi. So I'll get a maximum intensity equal to 4 I naught. Now let me take the pen. So why this will be 4 I naught? So the reason why it will be 4 I naught, this particular point, if the point P where the rays arriving at point P, if it is equal to the phase difference is equal to 2n pi, then this will be 4 I naught intensity. If the path difference of the rays arriving there is equal to 2n minus 1 pi, then this will be minima. In this way, the Young's what happened, he was able to demonstrate why there will be minima and maxima, why there alternate bright and dark bands are formed on the screen because of this constructive and destructive influence of the rays arriving there. Okay, now look at the another thing. We'll get also even the positions of maxima and minima from here. The whole setup I'll show it. It'll be very easy for you to the complete setup is available. For maximas, how to locate the position of maximas? How to locate the position of I think everyone is able to see this. Yeah. Okay, how to locate the position of maximas on the screen. So what are maxima? The white color is a maxima. I'm shading by pink here, highlighting by pink. These are the maximas. And what about the minimas? The dark bands are minimas. How to locate the position of maximas, minimas? So what it's telling is for constructive interference, what is the required condition? Path difference should be equal to n lambda. So I'll write delta x is equal to n lambda. Then I'll get the position of y max. What is y max equal to? N lambda capital D by small d. Try to look at this one. And what are n? N equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. With this, I locate the position of maximas. Got it? Similarly, to locate the minimas, to locate the position of dark bands, this dark bands. So what shall I do? At dark bands, the destructive interference occurs. If the destructive interference occurs, so what is the path difference? 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. So therefore, what shall I write? Delta x must be equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. Solving for y minimum, I'll get this equation 2n minus 1 lambda capital D by 2d. For various values, put n equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll get the position of the minimas. Got this idea? So now we'll define one more quantity called like a central maxima. What do you mean by central maxima? It's a point on a screen where path difference of the rays arriving there will be 0. So what is the central maxima? How we define? It's a point on a screen Okay, I'll go for defining central maxima. So central it's a point on a screen where the path difference of rays a very, very important condition. How to locate central maxima? It's a point on a screen where the path difference of the rays will be 0. Then central. So definitely what happened? The central maxima will lie at the axis. This is what the central maxima. How to locate that? It's a path difference where the It's a point on the screen where the path difference is 0. That is the location of central maxima. So how to locate this alternate bright and dark fringes or alternate bright and dark bands? So using this particular formula. Using this particular formula, I locate the position of maxima. Position of maximas are given by this equation. Position of minimas are given by this equation. Okay, no. So to locate the position of maxima minimas on the screen, we are going to take help of this equation. Okay, this is one overall the methodology of the YDSC setup. Okay, next after what are the other ideas like how to calculate intensity of any point on a screen. So we are going to take help of this particular formula. Now let's come for this one. What is the intensity of different points on a screen? This is something very important discussion. So that you can select the total fundamental idea will be covered here. So I'll start with. I think you can see things clearly. Okay, I have to bring the pointer, no? Yeah. Okay, now look at this will be central maxima. I'm putting green color, highlighting it. Why this will be central maxima? Because the rays emitted by slit S1 and S2. They'll cover equal path. What is the path difference of the rays arriving from S1 and S2 at point 2? Will be 0. Once again I'll put it. This will cover a path S1O and S2O. From geometry S1O is equal to S2O. It's available here, you can see. What is the path difference? Will be 0. So therefore it should be a central maxima. So where the central maxima will be there at the axis. There's the axis, no? Will be there at the axis. Then after central maxima, why do we get a dark band? First dark band will be there. This one. Next, we'll get the first maxima, second minima, second dark band, second bright band, third dark band, third bright band. Like that, alternate bright and dark bands will be there. And since the S1, S2 are placed symmetrically with respect to axis, we'll get a symmetric pattern. So the pattern will be symmetric about the axis here. How to locate the position of maximas, minimas? Again, we are going to use the same formula. To get the position of maxima, I'm going to use the formula y max equal to n lambda capital D by D. No. Okay, some very important questions we are going to discuss here. What is the intensity of at maxima? Will be 4 I naught. Okay, let's discuss this one. What is the intensity at this particular point? 4 I naught. 4 I naught. What is the intensity at this point? Will be 0. Will be 0. Why there it will be 4 I naught? Why it will be 4 I naught? Why it will be 4 I naught? Means like the intensity due to this is I naught. This I naught. So the resultant intensity here will be 4 I naught. Maxima here. Here it will be 0, that one. I'll write some set of equations. Now the intensity due to slit 1, let it be I naught. be I naught. So what is the intensity at central maximum will be 4 I naught. All maximas will have intensity. Let me write separately. There will be no. All maximas will have intensity 4 I naught. What about this one? 0 intensity. I'll write it. This will be a little bit difficult for students. Sir, how come 4 I naught? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's have some small discussion. Very simplified discussion will make it. I do have space here. Okay, let's do one thing. So this is the slits. Intensity is I naught. This is I naught. So when slit S2 is closed, I'll close it. Only I naught, this is on, or we can better say off, on. What is the intensity everywhere here will be I naught because the distance we assumed it. So intensity everywhere will be I naught. That one. Similarly, S1, S2, intensity I naught, this I naught. What is the intensity everywhere? Okay, sorry, this will be I naught. This will be off. What is the intensity everywhere will be again I naught. The intensity at all points on the screen will be I naught only. Fine. Now when both are on, what do we expect? So this is S1, S2, this is on. When both are open, so intensity is I naught and I naught. What do you expect? Everywhere will think 2 I naught. No. Here it will be 4 I naught, 0, 4 I naught, 0. 0, 4 I naught, 0. Sir, how come here 4 I naught? Why not be 0 here? The reason for that is like I naught and I naught is there. We expect 2 I naught everywhere here. The 2 I naught from here is taken and given to this. And the 2 I naught from here is taken and given to this. 2 I naught from here is taken and given to this. Like that, what happened? So what is the interference phenomena? Redistribution of energy occurs at all points on the screen. So what is the interference phenomena? In interference phenomena, redistribution of energy in interference phenomena, redistribution of energy occurs in space and it obeys law of conservation of energy. Energy at at dark band is not, energy at dark band is not, you can say, destroyed. The energy at dark band is taken and given to the bright band. Getting this one? And the energy at the dark band is taken and given to dark band. Similarly, the same thing. The energy of the dark band is given to bright band. In this way, what will happen? Redistribution of energy takes place in a space surrounding the coherent point sources. If I switch off one of this source, then what is the intensity everywhere? Everywhere will be I naught only here. Everywhere will be I naught. Then if I switch off S1 and S2 is on, everywhere will be I naught. When both are on, and if the S1, S2 are coherent, then everywhere the intensity will be not 2 I naught, but there'll be redistribution of energy occurs. Interference phenomena occurs. Because of that, we'll get alternate bright and dark band. So what we notice here, alternate bright and dark bands are noticed here. Sorry, if S1, S2 are incoherent, if S1 and S2 are incoherent, yes, strict condition, S1 and S2 are coherent. If they are incoherent, everywhere intensity will be 2 I naught. We don't see any alternate bright and dark bands. So what we can see is like everywhere it will be 2 I naught. Just add up intensity due to at all points on the screen intensity will be 2 I naught. Okay, got this idea now. So this is one basic thing what occurs in the YDAC setup. So why that alternate bright and dark band? Because of the interference phenomena. At bright band, constructive interference will occur. At dark band, destructive interference. So why 0? Here what we can write? Destructive interference. What about the bright band? Constructive interference. Got the idea? So this is about the YDAC basics. So let me take you back. Why alternate bright and dark bands there on the screen? Because of the interference phenomena we can see. Okay, now will it be intensity 4 I naught and I naught? The answer is no. Where the intensity will be 4 I naught? At the midpoint of, let me bring the pointer. So at the midpoint of bright band, I think we have here. Yeah. This is something very important. At the midpoint of bright band, what is the intensity will be 4 I naught. Then 3 I naught, 2 I naught. At the midpoint of dark band, intensity will be 0. In general, we see bright and dark bands, but if you take help of traveling microfrequency, where intensity will be 4 I naught, at the midpoint of bright band, the intensity will be 4 I naught. At the midpoint of dark band, the intensity will be 0. And as I move from center of the bright band to next center of dark band, the intensity will vary from 4 I naught, 3 I naught, 2 I naught, I naught, and 0. Again, as I move from center of the dark band to center of the bright band, the intensity will vary from 0, I naught, 2 I naught, 3 I naught, 4 I naught. Okay, here we define a fringe width. What is the one fringe width? The distance measured from the center of the bright band, here, this one, to center of dark band. This distance is what I'll call one fringe width. Or what shall I do? The distance measured from the center of the dark band to the next center of the dark band. This will become one fringe width. Okay, I'll put once again. The distance measured from center of the dark band to the next successive dark band. So it is called like a fringe width, or the distance measured from the center of the bright band to next center of the successive, like a center of the bright band, will become one fringe width here. Or in calculation purpose, so even this one bright and one dark band will become one fringe width here. So one fringe, what it contains, one dark band and bright band. But in lab, what will happen? I should measure from center of the bright band to center of the next bright band, or center of the dark band to the next center of dark band is one fringe width. On paper, in calculation purpose, one fringe means one bright and one dark band. The width of that should be equal to one fringe width here. How to calculate that fringe width? We know y max equal to nd, put n equal to 1, put n equal to 2. Take the difference of that, y2 minus y1, solve it, we'll get expression for fringe width. So like this, the number of fringes, so like the fringe width is given by the formula lambda capital D by small d. So if you look at the YDC pattern, here I'm showing it like a rectangular fringes, but practically what happens, there'll be rectangular hyperbola because of diffraction effect. There'll not be perfect rectangle. So some curvature will be there for each band. Why do this curvature? This is what practically that will be visible on the screen. Why do this curvature? Because of diffraction phenomena. Okay, for it has become a practice of showing rectangular fringes, but the fringes will be of this particular shape in the lab, what you measure it. Still the center of this will be 0. The center of the bright band will be 4 I know. The center of dark band will be 0. Again, the conditions are same. Go the idea, no? So this fringe width is, once again I'll put it where the intensity will be 4 I naught at the center of bright band. The intensity will be 4 I naught here. Where intensity will be 0 at the center of dark band, the intensity will be 0. And as you move from bright band to dark band, so what's happening intensity from 4 I naught, 3 I naught, 2 I naught, and 0. Again, as you move from center of the dark band, okay, this was the diagram. Yeah, well, once again. No. As I move from center of the dark band, the intensity went from 0, I naught, 2 I naught, 3 I naught, 4 I naught, 3 I naught, 2 I naught, and finally 0. This will become one fringe width. Got the idea? This one? Okay, the pattern on the screen will not be exactly rectangular shape. So some curvature will be there for the bands that you can see here. Why this is due to diffraction phenomena. Okay, now how many fringes will determine? Okay, here I'll introduce to the some small mathematics. The number of fringes in YDSC setup is given by this particular, means how many fringes will be there on the screen, how many bright and dark fringes will be seen. Any number? No, the answer is again, so we will proceed with this one. We know delta x equal d sine theta from here. So then what is the maximum permitted value of theta? 90 degrees. This one. The maximum permitted theta is, so when theta tends to 90 degree, the max n max, the fringe will be available at theta equal to 90 degree. So then the n max is given by d by lambda. So total maximums on the screen are given by 2 n max plus 1. Suppose say if d is equal to, let me bring the pen. Suppose let d is equal to, let me assume 10 millimeter, lambda equal to 2 millimeter. Then what is n max? N max should be equal to d by lambda. How much will get 5? What do you mean by that? So on YDSC setup, what we notice is like S1. So what is D? D is this one. This is a wavelength lambda. We get central maxima. I'll show by like this, central maxima. Next, where is the fifth one will be n equal to 0. The fifth one will be there at infinity. The fourth band will be somewhere here. Third, second, and 1. Similarly on this side. The pattern will be symmetric 1, 2, 3, the fourth band 4, and the fifth band will be here. So this distance where the fifth band will be at infinity. So how many total maximas you counted? Total maxima will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus 1 central maxima. Total how many will become 2n max plus 1. So what are visible? The visible things will be only these are visible. And what about this angle? This angle will be 90 degrees. So which are visible? Only 4, 3, 2, 1 and central maximum will be. Number of fringes visible, how many will be? 9. But total number of fringes formed are? How many fringes will be formed? 11 fringes will be formed. So number of fringes formed are 11. Number of fringes visible on screen will be 9. So why 2 more fringes? The one which are at infinity will not be visible. Like this, the number of fringes formed on the screen depends upon the ratio of d by lambda. And everything this is discussion is applicable only when this condition. Okay, so we will wind up the class here. So from tomorrow in the next class, I will continue from here the further the applications, optical path length, then shift in the pattern, all those things we are going to discuss. Okay, all of you, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. So today's class, what we had a discussion about the Huygens wave theory. The Huygens wave principle, what when it demonstrates the wave nature of light. So what was the basic Huygens wave theory? So every point on a secondary, every point on a wavefront will behave like a source of secondary source, and in turn the secondary source will generate secondary wavelets. When you draw a tangent joining the secondary wavelets, you get a new wavefront. In this way, the light was propagating through a medium. That's what the Huygens proposed. To demonstrate this wave nature, Young Solomon, he took the cardboards, 2 cardboards, like a one cardboard, he put 1 pinhole, then other cardboard 2 holes, and he illuminated the cardboard by a slit, the first cardboard by a slit, and he saw a like a alternate bright and dark regions on a screen, and that is due to what? Due to the wave nature of light. So the Young's double slit experiment demonstrated the wave nature of light. After that, what happened? We just went into in detail about the Young's double slit experiment, number of alternate bright and dark bands. We took help of the interference phenomena. Then what are what do you mean by fringe weight? Then number of maximas, minimas, how to calculate all that. We had a theoretical discussion. Okay, the next class will continue from here. Optical path length, then the shift in the pattern. If a slab is introduced, all those some application problems we'll try to focus. Okay, thank you all of you. Take care. Bye. See you. We'll meet in the next class.